What is going on, my fellow Remnant 2 gamers? Welcome back to the channel. It's D-Werewolf Gaming, back with another Remnant 2 video. Alright guys, I want to first start off to say I hope everybody is doing well and staying safe. Today guys, I wanted to bring you a build using the Sporebloom long gun. This gun can be obtained by playing on veteran difficulty, and it's not really that hard to get compared to some of the other weapons in this game. Overall, it is a fun gun to use, long gun to use guys, but one of the major drawbacks in this long gun is that it only has one in the magazine. And you know, fighting on the bosses or anything on Apocalypse with one in the magazine, you know, that equals to a quick death in my opinion. With that being said guys, and I'm also going to use another shotgun for my secondary. I know a lot of my videos I often use the Nebula, and primarily guys, I've said this before, you know, I don't know if a lot of people realize this or not, but the Nebula, I don't really use it just for the just for it to be there in that spot guys. I use it because what it does is it applies acid and corrosive to enemies, and whenever you apply that to those bosses or enemies or anything, those enemies take 10% increased damage from you. And with that being said guys, it's really easy to spam the mod on the Nebula. So basically you will have that Nebula, that 10% increase in damage their entire time. This will allows you to kill these bosses a lot faster guys, and as you watch this video today, you will see throughout my gameplay guys, these bosses would have been dead a lot faster if I just would have used the Nebula as my secondary instead of using, you know, even the shotguns. Even though I know you can see some big weak spot numbers, but overall those numbers, you know, getting those numbers here and there, doesn't make up for sustained damage that the Nebula can give you. Now there are other handguns that does that, guys. They would be my go-to. Now there are other builds and other guns that work in different scenarios, but for me and my playstyle, I generally like a weapon that I can use, and it works on every boss just about, and it's able to keep sustained damage. So during those time periods when I'm reloading, the bosses are still getting damage done to them. So if you're new to this game, guys, I did want to point that out. And, all right, guys, and one last thing I do want to point out just before I forget to say this when we go over the build breakdown. I did play with this build a little bit using the gunslinger charm and also using the gunslinger ring that you get, and you know, overall it worked pretty good as well for those of you who, you know, want to increase rate of fire and reload speed. You know, especially it definitely comes in handy when you're playing with like builds using shotguns or single shot weapons. But this build today, guys, I will not showcase me using that ring or amulet, even though I did play some using it as well. All right, so I'm gonna let you finish watching the rest of the gameplay, and again we will go over the build breakdown shortly. Alright, so we're in this boss fight. Hopefully that was enough gameplay for you just to see how powerful these two guns are. Alright guys, and let's take a look real quickly at the range just to show you the amount of damage this build can dish out, guys. But this build is so versatile, there's so many different ways to play it that I will not be able to cover all the different ways of how you can put this build together. But guys, I will just showcase some of the items that I did use in this build. Alright, so I did use the Hunter as my primary class, and Dead to Rights is the prime perk, dealing 55 base range of melee weak spot damage, extends the duration of active hunter skills by 3.5 seconds, and this can extend the timer beyond its initial duration. Alright, Hunter's focus, guys. Since you're using guns that definitely require better focus, focus reduces weapon spread, recoil, and sway by 50%, and grants 25% range and ranged weak spot damage, while focus aiming at enemies will automatically apply a mark, and those marked enemies will have 10% increase in critical chance. Alright, and sometimes I was using the Hunter's mark because you don't have to worry about waiting for it to get that focus to get that increase in damage. And also the Hunter Shroud would have been good with this build as well, since it's only one in the magazine. Alright, Intuition. Using the relic extends the duration of any active hunter skill by 10 seconds, and basically every time you use the relic it becomes less effective. Urgency, firearms gain 15%, reload speed, 15% increased movement speed after kill, and return to sender. Sender kills due to weak spot and critical hits increase the chance by ammo to drop by 50%, and Dead Eye you gain 40% range damage and 15% weak spot damage and 5% range crit chances. Alright, I did use the Sidewinder basically, and guys, what it does is it improves aim down the sight by 50%, and draw/swap speed by 35%. Lasts for 40 seconds and has a pretty low cooldown as well. Alright, Swift Shot, you gain 15% fire rate, 25% range damage, and 5% crit chance. Alright, Posey Up, ammo pickups award 30% additional ammo per player with the bonus split equally among your teammates. And Quick Hands, firearms gain 10% load speed, and that is doubled when the magazine is empty. And Slayer Hand, using the relic, reloads equipped firearm and increased range damage by 15% for 10 seconds. Alright, always wear whichever armor you prefer. And the shield and hard work best on this build. You get a shield for 100% max health. It lasts for 20 seconds unless the shield is damaged. I did go with 15% range crit damage, 7.5 range crit chance, and 15% weak spot damage, guys. But I was changing out that 7.5 sometimes to weapon spread actually. Alright. The starter short is Sporebloom long gun. Basically, it is a single shot weapon that deals bonus stagger damage. It's called Spore Shot, fires a rotten spore that basically applies slow, guys, and also gives you haste as well. And Slayer was the mutator, reload and increase the damage of his weapon's next shot by 25%, and at level 10 increase reload speed by 15%. Now another mutator that I was using, guys, was the Bandit as well. Only grant 30% chance to return spent ammo directly in the magazine of this weapon at level 10. When the ammo is returned, it gains 10% increased fire rate for 3 seconds. Duration can increase up to 10 seconds. Alright, I did use the Spectral Blade. Basically, guys, whenever you perform a charged melee attack during a neutral back dash, it creates a whirlwind of slashes which strikes all enemies within 8 meters, dealing 273 damage. And I did use the Shocker Mutator. This empowers it with shock, guys, at a level 10. It also applies overload, dealing 375 shock damage every 5 seconds for 5 seconds. Alright, and the double barrel shotgun is just amazing, guys. I did pair it with the corrosive rounds. This embeds ammunition with acid and corroded, dealing 450 damage over 10 seconds. And I did use the extender. This increases the magazine capacity by 45%, and at level 10 increases reload speed of this weapon by 20%. Alright, and I did use the bisected ring some. You gain infinite stamina, guys, but you gotta keep in mind you will take increasing damage by 15%. Depending on the bosses, guys, I was changing that out. Probability core to get increasing critical damage by 20%. And in this stage is inspiration. When receiving healing effects, you gain haste for 10 seconds. The haste basically increases the speed of the wearer's action by 7%. And the Ring of Flawed Beauty, depending on if the boss had a weak spot, you get the 25% increase in weak spot damage, but it will, if you don't get that shot, guys, you will do reduce range damage by 15%. Alright, the Akari Warband was another band I was using. Perfect Dodge, you get 10% critical chance and 10% damage, critical hit damage. And Braided Thorns, already you get increasing critical chance by 10%. Alright, and I did use Xander's Malice, dealing weak spot damage. Stacks of the 4 times, guys, you can get up to 20% increase in weak spot damage. Like I said, there's a lot of options when it came to this build, a lot of different rings you could use that would have worked great. But, alright, and I did use the Provisional Ring, guys. This reloads firearm, stolen weapons basically over a period of time. Alright, and then generating band regenerates 3% max health per second whenever you have a shield. Tightly wound core, actually, when spending 75% of your ammo, you gain a shield for 15% of max health. Keep in mind, guys, whenever you got that equipped, you want to have the generating band equipped as well. That way you got your shield and you got health generating at the same time. And I did use that the amulet with the infinite ammo. Another amulet I did use was the energy diverter. While the shield is active, you gain 10% critical chance and 15% to all damage dealt. And since you're using the shield at heart, you will always have a relic. And also the tightly coiled ring as well. You always have a shield as well. Alright, and another amulet was the difference engine. While the shield is active, all damage is increased by 20% and you get 4% base damage dealt as lifesteal. And many of you know already the favorite amulet of choice that I enjoy on mostly all of my builds, guys, is the basic zero divide, because you gain infinite ammo reserve and increase range damage by 15%. But mainly, guys, you don't have to worry about ammo whenever you got that. So that it played a big part. All right, users have a ton you prefer. I was using the Dark Cider to get increased stamina, health, and movement speed. And I also use the Tranquility Font as well, because what that does, guys, is it basically reduces reticle sway, spread, and gun recoil by 20%, and it remains in effect even after death. So I was going back and forth on that. I like increased movement speed. Your traits for lung shot comes automatically, works great, especially with shotguns. 10 points in ammo reserve come automatically. 10 points in triage, 10 points in regrowth, 10 points in gifted to keep my skills lasting longer. I did have 4 points in fortified to improve my armor. I had 4 points in swiftness so I can move a little bit faster. 10 points in spirit so I get mods back quicker. 10 points in expertise so I get skills back faster. 10 points in handling. You definitely need this with this build. Reduces weapon spread. I did have right at 9 points in vigor to increase max health. I had 5 points in footwork, so aiming and shooting would be a little bit better, more smoother. I had 5 points in bark skin, and I did have 3 points in endurance to increase stamina by 9. Alright, guys, if you like the build, give it a thumbs up. Thank you for your valuable time as always. Alright, I did forget to mention right here on your left hand side, guys, take a look at my stats. I did have fire rate 15%, critical damage of 70, range damage of 80, weak spot damage of 30%, and range chance of 17.5. Alright, again, if you like the build, give it a thumbs up. Thank you for your valuable time as always. D Werewolf out.